In 2013, Stewart Butterfield had a problem. His gaming startup, Tiny Speck, was failing. But the internal communication tool his team built to collaborate remotely, that was magic. Employees from other companies kept asking if they could use it. So Butterfield made a bet, pivot from the game to the tool. Launch Slack. 7 years later, Salesforce acquired Slack for $27.7 billion. Today, Slack has over 20 million daily active users and has fundamentally changed how teams work. But Slack's success wasn't luck. It was the result of executing every single building block of GTM strategy brilliantly, from identifying their target audience to obsessing over retention metrics. Let's walk through exactly how they did it. 1. Target audience. Start narrow, expand systematically. Butterfield didn't try to sell Slack to everyone who works. He started hyper-focused, tech-savvy teams at startups and digital agencies who were drowning in email, already comfortable with new tools, and willing to try something unproven. This wasn't about limiting ambition, it was about focus. These early adopters would tolerate bugs, provide feedback, and spread the word if Slack delivered value. Enterprises could wait. Slack needed proof of concept first. The ICP was crystal clear. Teams of 10 to 50 people in tech or creative industries, frustrated with email overload, comfortable adopting new software without lengthy procurement processes. This specificity shaped everything that followed. 2. Problem-solution fit. Validate before you scale. Before launching publicly, Slack ran a private beta with hand-picked teams. Butterfield didn't just watch sign-up numbers. He tracked behavior obsessively. The key validation metric emerged quickly. Teams that sent 2,000 messages or integrated 10 apps had a 93% chance of still being active users a year later. This became Slack's aha moment, the point where teams realized Slack had become essential to how they worked. This wasn't guesswork. Beta teams provided brutal feedback. The search is confusing. We need better file sharing. Notifications are overwhelming. Slack iterated relentlessly based on real usage patterns, not assumptions. By the time Slack launched publicly in February 2014, they had validated that the problem, email overload, was real. Their solution, real-time team messaging, resonated, and users would stick around if they hit that activation threshold. 3. Value proposition. Clarity that sells itself. Slack's value proposition was deceptively simple. Be less busy. Not team collaboration platform. Not enterprise communication solution. Just 3 words that capture the emotional outcome. Reclaim your time, reduce chaos, get work done. The tagline spoke to the pain point, drowning in email, and the outcome, mental clarity and productivity. It wasn't about features, it was about transformation. This clarity made Slack instantly understandable to anyone who'd ever felt overwhelmed by their inbox. Underneath the tagline, the value was concrete. Searchable history, never lose information again. Integrations with tools you already use, everything in one place, and channels that organize conversations by topic, no more email archaeology. From features to advantages and to value, perfectly executed. 4. Product positioning, creating a new category. Slack didn't position as better email or improved instant messaging. They created a new category, Team Collaboration Hub. Email was for external communication. Chat tools like Skype were for quick messages. Project management tools like Basecamp organized tasks. Slack combined elements of all 3, but positioned as something distinct, the central nervous system of team communication. This positioning was strategic. Competing directly against email or Microsoft would have been suicide. Creating a new category where Slack was the obvious leader? Brilliant. Their messaging reinforced this. Where work happens. Not where you chat. Not where you email. Where actual work gets done. This elevated Slack from tool to platform. 5. Messaging and storytelling. Bottom up, human, delightful. Slack's messaging was conversational, not corporate. Their website copy felt like a smart friend explaining a great discovery, not a vendor pitching software. Example, Slack brings all your communication together in one place. It's real-time messaging, archiving, and search for modern teams. Simple. Clear, human. But the real storytelling genius was in the product itself. Slackbot greeted new users conversationally, teaching features through playful dialogue rather than boring tutorials. Customizable emoji and GIFs made work feel less sterile. The tone said, work doesn't have to suck. This messaging aligned perfectly with their target audience, younger, tech-forward teams who valued personality and rejected stuffy enterprise software. Slack felt like a tool built by people like them, for people like them. 6. Channels and distribution, product-led growth at its finest. Slack's distribution strategy was radically simple. Let the product sell itself. No massive ad campaigns. No enterprise sales team at launch. Instead, Slack built viral growth into the product. One person on a team would try Slack, invite colleagues, and adoption would spread organically. The free tier removed all barriers to entry. Channels included word of mouth. Passionate early users became evangelists. Press coverage. Tech media loved the underdog story and delightful UX. Integrations, partnerships with tools like Google Drive, Dropbox, and GitHub made Slack more valuable and discoverable. Content marketing. Thoughtful blog posts about remote work and productivity attracted their ICP organically. By focusing on product-led growth, Slack acquired customers at near zero cost. Only after proving the model did they layer in paid marketing and enterprise sales teams. 7. Pricing and packaging. Freemium done right. Slack's pricing model was beautifully designed. Free tier, unlimited users, 10,000 searchable messages, 10 integrations, enough to experience value but with clear limits. Standard, $6.67 per user per month, unlimited history and integrations, group calls. Plus, $12.50 per user per month, advanced security, compliance, and support for larger teams. Enterprise grid, custom pricing for massive organizations needing advanced admin controls. The genius? The free tier wasn't crippled, it was genuinely useful. Small teams could use it indefinitely. But as teams grew and message history became valuable, upgrading felt natural, not forced. The limits created organic conversion pressure without feeling manipulative. Slack converted roughly 30% of free teams to paid, extraordinary for freemium SaaS. The pricing aligned perfectly with value delivery. The more essential Slack became, the more willing teams were to pay. 8. Sales strategy and funnel. Self-serve first, enterprise later. Slack's funnel was designed for velocity. Awareness, word-of-mouth, press, integrations. Activation, sign up in seconds, invite team immediately, start messaging. Engagement, hit 2,000 messages or 10 integrations, the aha moment. Conversion, upgrade when free tier limits become friction. Expansion, add more teams, grow seats, adopt enterprise features. Initially, this was entirely self-serve. No sales calls required. Teams could sign up, try, and buy without talking to anyone. Only after dominating the SMB market did Slack layer in enterprise sales teams to close Fortune 500 deals requiring security reviews, custom contracts, and change management support. This sequencing was critical. Prove the product-led motion first, then add high-touch sales for larger deals. 9. Customer onboarding and retention. Make it instant. Make it sticky. Slack's onboarding is legendary. Within 2 minutes of signing up, you're messaging teammates. No lengthy tutorials. No complex setup wizards. Just immediate utility. Slackbot guided new users conversationally. Try sending a message. Now create a channel. Each action taught features contextually, when relevant. Delight was baked in, fun loading messages, customizable emoji, playful notifications. But onboarding was just the beginning. Slack built retention through daily habit formation. Notifications brought users back constantly. Network effects. The more teammates used Slack, the more valuable it became. Integrations. Connecting tools made Slack central to workflows. Search. Never losing information created dependency. Slack's retention was extraordinary. Once teams hit that 2,000 message threshold, they rarely left. The product became the institutional memory and communication backbone. Switching costs became prohibitively high. 10 metrics and feedback loops. Obsess over what matters. Butterfield was famously metrics obsessed. Slack tracked everything, but focused on what mattered most. North Star metric, messages sent per team per day. Proxy for engagement and value delivery. Leading indicators. Time to 2,000 messages. Faster equals better retention. Integration adoption rate. Daily active users. Lagging indicators. Free to paid conversion rate. 30%. Net dollar retention, greater than 140%. Existing customers spent more over time. Churn rate, incredibly low for activated teams. Slack combined quantitative data with qualitative feedback obsessively. User interviews revealed pain points. Support tickets highlighted confusion. Beta testing validated new features before launch. This created a continuous improvement loop, from measure usage to identify friction to test solutions to deploy winners to measure again. Every feature, message, and design choice was informed by data and user feedback. The three-phase framework, how Slack orchestrated it all. Pre-launch, validation, and positioning. Slack validated problem solution fit through private beta, identified their North Star metric, 2,000 messages, and positioned themselves as a new category, team collaboration hub, not just chat. They refined messaging based on early user feedback and prepared for product-led growth. Launch. Channels, pricing, acquisition. Slack launched with a freemium model designed for viral growth, relied on product-led distribution rather than expensive marketing, and focused on tech-savvy teams who would evangelize naturally. Their pricing created organic conversion pressure. The onboarding experience delivered instant value. Post-launch, retention, expansion, optimization. Slack obsessed over retention metrics and activation thresholds, built network effects and integrations that increase stickiness, expanded into enterprise markets with dedicated sales teams, and continuously optimized based on user behavior and feedback. They iterated relentlessly, compounding advantages over time. Conclusion: the compound effect of getting it all right. Slack didn't win because of one brilliant insight. They won because they executed every building block of GTM strategy exceptionally well, and each block reinforced the others. Clear target audience enabled focused validation. Strong validation shaped precise positioning. Sharp positioning informed delightful messaging. Smart channel selection matched their product-led model. Freemium pricing drove viral adoption. Frictionless onboarding activated users fast. Engagement loops created retention. Metrics guided continuous improvement. The result? Slack grew from 0 to 2 million daily active users in 2 years, 8 million in 4 years, and over 20 million today. They achieved a $27.7 billion acquisition in just 7 years. This is what happens when GTM strategy isn't just a launch plan, but an integrated system where every piece works together. So as you build your own GTM strategy, remember, it's not about perfecting one element. It's about aligning all 10 building blocks so they amplify each other. Define your audience precisely. Validate relentlessly. Craft value propositions that resonate. Position boldly. Message clearly. Choose channels wisely. Price strategically. Design frictionless funnels. Onboard with delight. Measure obsessively. Get them all working together. And you don't just launch a product, you build a growth engine that compounds over time. That's the Slack playbook. Now go build yours.